Hey, man, thanks so much for taking the opportunity to chat with us.
No problem at all.
So, Napalm Death is about to embark on a ridiculous tour with the Black Dahlia Murder and Abnormality, along with guest appearances by Pig Destroyer, Misery Index, and Power Trip. How does it feel to be hitting the road again in the United States with a tour of this caliber?
The thing really about it is that I still pinch myself, really, because this is, over the last couple of years, this is probably like the 5th time or the 6th time we've been in the US. Mm-hmm. And we do worry about it, because it's like, you know, when you've got a bit of experience in touring, you understand that, you know, it's good, it's great, of course, to be able to go back places and play, but you don't want to overdo it, you know, because people can see too much of it. They can, you know, the way it is, but we keep getting asked back, and we always like say to the people that are involved with us, well, you know, should we, you know, is it too much? And they're like, no, people are really want to see you, and, you know, all the rest of it. So I mean, go figure, you know, but considering that the preceding 5 or 6, 7 years, we went once every couple of years, you know. I mean, it's just, I don't know what it is, but it just seems the last couple of years things have really gone well for us in the States, you know. And yeah, I mean, this latest tour, it's good because in the general scheme of things, it's something different, you know. Obviously, we did the Melvins thing, which we really actually would like to do in Europe as well. And now we're kind of doing something with a few kind of keynote bands that people really like. Yeah, it's different, you know. It'll be a mixture of people, I think, and so yeah, it's going to be good, you know. And really for us, it's kind of a last hurrah, you know, before the end of the year, and it seems like quite a high note to sort of finish things up on for us this year, you know, until the kind of roller coaster comes along next year, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. So you guys have obviously been doing this for a long time. So what do you guys do to get ready for a tour like this? Anything you guys stock up on for the road, or pre-tour tour rituals, anything like that?
No. I mean, I think the most important thing, really, and I guess it's kind of the most obvious, is that we make sure that the set list is notable enough, in the sense that it wasn't what we were doing last time. Because I'm sort of a big believer that if you're going to go back to sort of general places, don't do the same thing as what you did last time. You know, and I've just seen bands do that. I just, you know, show a bit of effort, you know, mix things up a bit, bring some stuff in that you haven't played for a while, and give people a different flavour, because in a lot of places, let's be honest, there's going to be quite a few people that came to see you that saw you last time. So, you know, we always try and give something that people will kind of sit up and go, wow, I didn't expect that, you know. So you know, keep people guessing, I suppose. So that is the most important, really. And what we try to do nowadays is we try and do 2 sets per tour. So we'll flip flop 2 sets, you know, and that keeps things interesting, you know. Hopefully, not only for the people, but it definitely does for us, you know, playing different things each night. I'd like to be at the stage, to be honest with you, where I just kind of go out on stage and go, just randomly just go, oh, let's play this or let's play that. I really would love to do that, you know, but I think the other guys would have kids, you know, do that, you know. So, but yeah, so that's the only thing, really, you know. It's just to make sure that we're prepared with what we've got to do, and to know it in our minds that, as ever, we've got to give the absolute best that we can, you know. And yeah, so yeah, that's it. Just being prepared, you know. All the logistical preparations. Well, that's just part of the course. You know, there's nothing particularly exciting to say about that stuff, you know, other than the fact that we've got people that we've worked with for many, many years, and you know, we like to be in a situation where we have our friends with us and working with us, you know.
The Black Dahlia Murder, they've been doing their thing for a while, but like newer to the scene is Abnormality. Have you guys gotten a chance to check them out? And if so, what do you think of their brand of female-fronted brutal death metal?
I have no idea. You know, I've never seen them. I don't know anything about them. I must be honest. But you know, if they have a girl singer, then more power to their elbow. You know, everybody should be. You know, this music should be genderless. You know, it should be whatever you can do, get up there and do it. You know, and there should be no distinctions. You know, so I it's not a quirky or a strange thing for me to have female fronted anything. It's all part of the course, and you know, there have been some fantastic bands down the years who've had female singers. You know.
Oh, absolutely, man. So let's take a look at the political climate. You guys are touring the U.S. through November during the most controversial election that the United States has ever seen. What's your take on that situation?
It's well, actually, there's just as a footnote to that. On the last tour, a friend of mine actually was running, and I didn't know he was doing it. It was a guy I worked with in doing like anti-censorship activities many years ago. I hadn't seen him for years, but he was running Bernie Sanders' street team, you know, on the East Coast, you know, and he came down and with our consent, you know, set up a stall for Bernie Sanders, you know, for people to come and look and see what he was about, you know. And I didn't have a problem doing that. I mean, ordinarily, I really have to sort of think about whether we have sort of directly have politician stalls on our gigs, because depending on what day of the week you speak to me, I either will sort of align myself with the politics, or I will just completely disown it. You know, I'm always torn by it. You know, I mean, politics in general, I find very often to be quite tokenistic. You know, and in the mainstream, and not really achieving the function that it should, which is to ensure at its root, ensure that everybody, wherever you're from an internationalist perspective, is able to live a life of dignity and happiness. You know, not repressed, you know, for their colour, their race, or their sexual preference, or anything in life, you know. And I think politics fails quite miserably, you know, on a lot of levels as far as that very basic function. And I have to say that I really liked what Bernie Sanders is about, you know. I really did, you know. There were so many things that he spoke about that really rang true with me, and the things that I've always supported in the system over here as well, you know. So, you know, I felt quite comfortable to set up a stall for him, and there was a lot of interest, and, you know, all the rest of it. So, I really struggle, you know, when it comes to the kind of situation that you've got now with the US election. I mean, Trump is I just can't take him seriously, you know. I mean, I know he's really offended a lot of people, but I think he's so ludicrous, you know, in every way. That's not to say that some of the stuff he hasn't said wasn't, like, pretty objectionable, you know. But I just find him so ludicrous, you know, and I just can't believe that people would swallow that, you know. I mean, politicians always make this point now of not insulting the electorate, you know, and they really make a big issue of that, you know. But, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. If you are, like, really gullible enough to swallow some of the stuff that Trump says, you know, given the position that he's going to be potentially presented with in a couple of months' time, I just don't understand it, you know. I just don't. From a basic human perspective, it just doesn't make any sense, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be good for anybody, you know. I think if he gets, because we have an interest in it too, you know, because, like it or not, whatever happens in America has a domino effect elsewhere, you know. So we all should be concerned about it, you know. Now Hillary Clinton wouldn't sort of given the toss-up between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Obviously, I've already said who I would really pitch for, you know. But I think at this point, it's a case of damage limitation, you know, for all of us, you know. And I think that it would be far preferable for everybody, you if she gets it, because she's going to get it. The system's not going to collapse overnight. We're not going to go into a citizens' country to where everybody has a say and we have citizens' councils. We have the system that we have. Everywhere in the world has kind of a derivative of some kind of core system. And in as much as with my non-political head on, or rather with my anti-mainstream politics head on, I'd like to see the pillars come tumbling down, which would give everybody in the world a better chance, at freedom and dignity and, equality and stuff. It ain't going to happen. So I think the best thing for now is that if Hillary Clinton was to win, I think that's fairly obvious, so there you go, yeah. The other thing, I watched a couple of sort of documentaries, some on BBC and some on independent news sources, and I cannot believe that anybody who is in one of the groups that Trump has insulted, not only insulted but insinuated that they're somehow low life, that's his general insinuations. I can't believe that there's people up within those groups that somehow are endorsing this guy. I'm just, even one person, it's just a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So again, you guys have been making music and touring for quite some time. It's almost a theme here, but how much more difficult has the global political climate as of late made it for touring as opposed to earlier in your career when things were much calmer?
Yeah, it's interesting because again, and this is a bit of fence straddling by me, but Napalm gets automatically called a political band, and I get that. I get why people say that, but it's a bit bigger than that for me. If politics is as tokenistic as we've just kind of touched upon in many ways, then what I want to do is step beyond that and present Napalm certainly in its ethos as a humanitarian band, because that's really what we are. We're trying to put ideas on the table that are at the root, are ideas that we think would give happiness and dignity and equality and a happy life to everybody. That's a point of the band to me. On a from a sort of from a principled stance, I suppose. But yeah, of course, different systems make for different present different challenges. And then the thing is that I've always believed as any human being should be able to speak as they wish. Even Donald Trump, as objectionable as I find him, I wouldn't want him to be muzzled. I still think people should be able to speak like that. And myself with the way I feel about things, I've never been one to shut my mouth. Even when I've been advised to, and that sometimes can get into trouble. So yeah, I've knowing what the band is and how the band projects itself, it can cause problems in certain countries. It's a tricky situation because you don't want to be stupid to put yourself into certain risk situations, but sometimes things just escalate and you can't really control it. But I would rather that than kind of going through life worrying about looking over my shoulder. The things that I speak about is what I would want people to say, and speak about, because unless some people attempt to move towards a more liberated world, I think then nothing's going to change, and even for our small part, even the drop in the ocean that we have to do it alongside the other drops in the ocean. To me, it's a duty almost, for want of a better word. Absolutely,
man. Absolutely. So it's been about a couple years since the release of Apex Predator. So how have fans been reacting to that album now as opposed to when it was first released? And then on the other side of that coin, how do they react to the newer stuff, like the last couple of albums versus your early stuff, the classic Napalm Death?
Well, it's been consistently good. You know, I mean, I've not heard any negativity about the new album at all, and that is quite ridiculous in my view. You know, I mean, there should always sort of be a pushback against any album. You know, it's just a way of things. You kind of expect it, you anticipate it. You know, and I just haven't seen anything negative at all. You know, if someone can dig something out for me, yeah, I'd be glad to see it, you know. And it's strange, you know, it doesn't seem old to me now. You know, albums sometimes can, in as much as you love the making them and as much as you really like them, you know, after a couple of years, you can go, I need something new. I need to do something new, you know, this is kind of sort of old now. No, I'm not feeling that with Apex. Although I know that next year would kind of be a good time for us to start working fully on a new album. I'm kind of the whole sort of cut and thrust of Apex Predator hasn't worn off for me yet. You know, so people's reactions continues to be really good, and the stuff we do live from Apex. Well, I mean, it's quite telling that we do. So far, we've done 7 or 8 songs from that album. We're planning to do, actually for the setlist for this next tour, we've changed it up again. We're actually doing some songs from Apex that we didn't play on the previous tours. So, and actually, while we're on the subject, we're doing some stuff that we haven't played for many years from earlier albums. You know? And one thing that we rarely ever played that's considered a classic by people. So I won't say anything yet, you know, but, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's, what can I say, you know, we're just, I mean, Utilitarian itself was along the same lines, you know, but Apex just went to another level. And then I was just really blown away how positive, you know, the reception was for it. You know, I just really was. I can't tell you any more than that, you know.
Absolutely. So now, what you mentioned possibly getting into writing mode next year, have you guys done any preliminary work on maybe writing some new material?
I've heard some riffs and some bits and pieces from Shane, but not really anything more than that. You know, I've got some ideas of what I want to do, because there's a couple of scenarios that have been with us now for a couple of years out there in the wide world that I'd like to cover. So yeah, there's nothing concrete yet. It's just kind of the refinement of ideas, if you want to put it like that, for now. So yeah, nothing more to give you at this point, unfortunately.
All right. Well, what else is going on in the world of Barney Greenway then? Do you have any projects on the horizon you'd like to talk about?
No, I don't, mate. I mean, Shane's probably got another 10 projects on the list. That's the way he is. He's very fertile, you know, when it comes to music. Personally, I don't. I mean, I've got a couple of like guest things lined up before the end of the year that, you know, my thing has always been, I'll always help people out, you know, if they want me to do that, you know, if they sort of, I'm obviously quite flattered that people consider me good enough to add something to their albums, you know, so I've got a couple of things like that lined up, but no projects of my own. I mean, to be honest, Napalm has there's still such a lot of potential for Napalm creatively, even this many albums down the line. You know, we're going to continue to push the envelope, you know, and so with that kind of scope, that's enough for me. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that I do in Napalm that people don't see behind the scenes, like the everyday, you know, kind of organisational things, because we're very self-contained as a band, you know, and there's a lot of things that take really a lot of my time that aren't necessarily part of the gigging and the album sort of formulating side of things, you know. So I've got quite enough on my plate, you know, without doing other project stuff. But, you know, if somebody came along with something that seemed like a real good wheeze, you know, I'd consider it. no question. But nothing in the past few years, certainly.
All right. So last one for you. Let's say that a young musician just starting out comes up to you at a show. With all of your experience and all of the things that you've seen throughout your career, what wisdom would you have to share?
I mean, I've been asked this question quite a few times, actually, and it's always the same thing. You know, if you're starting out, really, you don't try and run before you can walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to concentrate on that initial creative spark. You know, so you and your bandmates have to decide what you're going to do. Work on some stuff and see how it rolls, and always have an open ear to the outside. So take advice, you know, and take criticism as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, take that on board and mull it over. And if you think that what you've done, you can live and die by that, then you carry on with it. You know, if it doesn't work out, then at least you can say that you tried. If somebody else tries to tell you stuff that you really don't sit with your principles or whatever, or creatively speaking, then do what you need to do. But don't be sort of too precious or sort of you know, high and mighty as to not take advice. You know, because even now at this point, I'm sure I can speak for me and Shane and Danny, that we're always, if people tell us stuff and it seems like a good idea or it's a good consideration or something, we'll take it on board and we'll act on it, you know, if we think it's a good thing. You know, a lot of times before too, as me and Shane will ask the advice of the people that work for us on tours, you know, because they're the guys that work all year round, not exclusively with us, with other bands as well. So we'll ask them about how to do things. We're not arrogant enough to think that we know it all. You're always learning about stuff, you know. So we take that on board. The other thing I would say about bands is, if you're assuming you get to the point where you're a bit more advanced and you're maybe touring quite a bit, you know, you've got albums out and stuff. You know, if someone comes to you, right, and gives you a chance to do something, right, and it doesn't sit right with you, I'm talking about on a sort of principled level, and it doesn't sit right with you, and you think about it, and it really doesn't sit right again. You know what? Don't do it. You know, don't sell yourself down the river. You know, if you don't think that's the right thing to do, because there's been a couple of times that I did it down the years, in the early years before I knew better. And given a chance again, I would not sell myself down the river, you know, because you will always look back on it and know that you didn't have to do that. You know, you know, it can be really bothersome to have to live with that stuff. You know, so you know, always do what you feel is the right thing to do. You know, and you live and die by your own decisions. You know, I mean, the whole thing about sometimes people sort of kind of are a little bit dismissive of the DIY thing. They just think it's a bit romanticised. But the actual point of doing it yourself, in other words, formulating your own ideas and not accepting that you don't know yourself. You know, if you really feel strongly about something that you've considered, then that quite frankly is patronising. Of course you can. You know, you can definitely make your own choices.
Absolutely, man. That's absolutely awesome. And you know, I gotta say to you that I've been listening to your massive voice since I was about 14 years old, and I can say with the bottom of my heart, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
No problem, my friend. Anytime you want to chat, then it's never a problem. You know, so and I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say that. It just, what can I say? It just comes out of the pipes the way it does. There's no secret recipe, but no, I really don't know what to tell you.